Right, let's now take you live to Gauteng MEC for Human Settlements. Lebogang Maile is briefing the media about the extent of damage to the Tambo Memorial Hospital. Let's listen in.
The electricals, there's some challenges. I'm thinking maybe people might be electrocuted. Yes. And I'm seeing people moving around the hospital. Are the patients in the hospital, or all the patients have been evacuated or taken to other hospitals? Is there any intention to shut this hospital, all of it, so that you can be able to do your work? You know, thinking of the electrocution that, you know, someone might be working in the kitchen and cause more problems for.
Those potential areas of risks have been identified, cordoned off, and everyone has been made aware. The MEC for Health will make a determination, working with the clinicians, whether they will close or not the hospital. As from the infrastructure point of view, we will be able to do our work even if patients are here, because we always cordon off those areas that we're working on and then proceed with the work. So we will be guided by the Department of Health because there's other implications. You can't just take out patients here. And as you know, there are patients who are extremely ill, who are fragile. They can't just be moved around. So there's a lot of considerations that must be taken into. There's a lot of aspects that must be taken into consideration, and we will support the Department of Health. As I've said, we're here. The contractors are on site. We have come here to see for ourselves that they're doing work. We are satisfied that they are. Some of the windows that are broken, the doors that were blown out by the explosion have been replaced. So we are on track from the infrastructure point of view.
Do you know maybe how long will it take you guys to complete all this work?
We're not just dealing with the work related to the explosion. We're dealing with the work to restore the entire hospital. So we have short, medium, and long-term objectives. As I've said, the hospital is more than 100 years. You can see it must be painted. There's areas that must be. So I can't say exactly, but it will take a bit of time. What I can promise for sure is that we will be able to provide quality service that will enable the hospital to continue providing the required services to the public.
MEC Govan from Eyewitness News. I understand maybe this might not fall into your portfolio, but we do understand that there were some nurses and some staff, healthcare workers who were also injured here. Yes. Can you tell us, can you speak more about that?
Yeah, we were briefed that there were about 37 people all in all who were injured. 24 are patients, 13 are health professionals. On the day of the incident, we met with the acting CEO of the hospital, and we even saw some of the nurses who survived, who were traumatized, and who explained what happened. And the reason why we had to do an infrastructure assessment is because we were told that some of parts of the hospital shook a bit, and we were worried about the structural integrity. So we were briefed fully about the affected patients and health workers. In fact, there's a unit where about 6 of the clinicians were badly burned, and it meant that that unit, because all of them were assigned to the patients there, so it meant that that unit will not have anyone to look after it. So it was a terrible accident, regrettable, and the Premier characterized it correctly when he said, when you came here, it resembled a war zone, and it was indeed. It was scary, something that we never thought we would have seen, especially on the Christmas Eve in our lifetime. It was terrible.
Mr. Maile, you're live on Newzroom Afrika. Thank you so much. Could you just tell us what the outcomes of that infrastructure assessment found?
It found several things, and I just briefed your colleagues now that one of the things was that the casualty and emergency unit was affected, one. The theater wards were affected, the X-ray ward and the antennal ward were affected. And the damages to the infrastructure was limited to the roofs, the ceilings, the windows, and the doors. And the areas related to mechanical that were affected in the casualty, theater, X-ray, antenatal are attended to. One of the biggest problems is the HVAC services that has almost collapsed, and this requires about 250,000 to fix. We are attending to that. The second area is the electricals, which requires about 18 million to fix, and this relates to light fittings, to cables and cable channels, and other related electrical issues. We have already appointed contractors to do immediate things like windows, doors, and we are in the process of appointing other contractors for other issues. What is of significance is our ability to demonstrate the capacity of the state, because all these we have done them internally. The engineer is internal, the quantity surveyor is internal. So it shows that government can do things, and we must enhance that capacity. Of course, we need the private sector to help us do better.
We understand that the other hospitals in Gauteng will be taking care of the patients that would have needed those facilities. Do you have any time frames on how long do you think the repairs would take before these facilities can start operating again?
Well, we are on site now, as I'm saying, and we are going to prioritize the areas that needs to be prioritized so that patients must not suffer, and that the hospital must be able to provide its services. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Some of it is medium to long term, some it's short term. We'll be able to prioritize it and schedule it accordingly. But from our side, we are ready. We've got the capacity. Of course, we will need to ensure that there's availability of resources from the Department of Health. But as far as we're concerned, from the infrastructure point of view, we are ready.
You mentioned the cost of one area, which is 250,000. Do you have an overall cost that you're able to say right now, or projected cost?
Not yet, except for the two areas, the mechanical and electrical. For electrical, is about 18 million. There's other general building works that needs to be done, which will be quantified, and we will be able to make that available, because we don't want to thumbsuck the figures. We're doing the thorough work through our quantity surveyors. At this point, we're working on one because the rest are on holiday. We did not anticipate this unfortunate incident. We're trying to recall some of them to come back so that they can help us to speed up the process. But we should at least by tomorrow know what is the quantity and figures that are needed for the other works. That is a priority, because, as I've said, the hospital need an overhaul because it's an old institution.
We're at the hospital now, MEC, but there's also significant damage to homes surrounding the bridge, which was blown out by this explosion. We're looking at the implications for home insurance, but some of these homes may not have any. Would your department assist any of these people, and what kind of assistance would that be?
Yes, certainly. We've got a commitment that whether people are rich or poor, during this unfortunate and difficult times, we must, as a caring government, come to the party. We have sent teams to assess the extent of the damages, but we will also be visiting those homes, and we will also be checking their needs. We've got a voucher program that is implemented by National Department of Human Settlement through the Housing Development Agency. We will, in this instance, take advantage of that voucher to help the affected families.
Finally then, MEC, you've had a look at some of the damage here. How would you describe it?
Well, in the hospital it was not that bad, I must say. We were just worried that there might have been structural impact that we might have not seen. Fortunately, the engineers has confirmed that the structure is still sound and it still has integrity. But when you look at the bridge outside and the houses that are affected, it's terrible. It's scary and it's unimaginable. And we can only thank God for sparing most of the people's lives, including the patients that survived. And we'll want to convey our condolences, deepest condolences to the families who lost their loved ones, and may their souls rest in peace. And we must work hard and continue to pray so that such a bad thing does not happen any time in our lifetime, because I think this could have been avoided, and unfortunately we don't know what has happened. As we have heard, the police have apprehended what we call the suspect at this point, and hopefully he will be able to provide an explanation as to what happened. At least we deserve that as a nation, and families of the affected victims.
Thank you so much. That's the MEC for Human Settlements, Lebogang Maile, speaking to Newzroom Afrika at the Tambo Memorial Hospital. We'll have a look at some of the damage to the hospital, hopefully get a closer look at that.